Welcome to episode 3 of Seat of the Pants Cooking. Today, Chef Bill creates one of his signature dishes, stuffed pork Athena. And what could go better with this delectable dish than a super healthy and delicious tabbouleh salad? And now, Chef Bill.
Hello again. Welcome back to Seat of Your Pants Cooking. Tonight we're going to be doing a stuffed pork Athena, which is it's about a 4-pound roast of pork loin. We have some spinach that we're going to wilt in the frying pan with a little bit of oil. We have thyme, basil, oregano, pepper and salt, and of course our virgin olive oil. And then of course we have our garlic that I always love to cook with. And I think I've shown this trick once before, where you take the garlic, take the butt ends off of it, and then you just give it a real good shake. And it takes the skin off the garlic, so you don't have to sit there and peel away. So I'm going to put these off to the side here. I'm going to take the garlic and put the garlic off to the side. Now we're going to take the pork loin, fat side up, and we're going to butterfly it. By butterflying I mean we're going to cut it lengthwise, not all the way through, probably about an inch from going through. So you want to do it in maybe 2 or 3 different slices, as we say. You want to find out about where halfway is on the pork loin, and then just work the knife through it. Careful not to cut yourself. There, we have it in a nice rectangular shape here. So we're done with that for right now, so I'm going to take this and put it off to the side. Right now we're going to take the burner, put it up on high heat, bring your frying pan over, coat the bottom of the pan with some olive oil. Take a couple of these garlics, of course. The recipe calls for 3 or 4 garlic cloves. If you like garlic, I would go with the 4. If you don't like garlic, just do a few. But I love garlic. So we can take that, introduce that to the frying pan. I'm going to grab another one of these boys. There we go. Take that and just let it break down a little bit, let it saute up a little bit. Now the second part of this is when you add the spinach, it doesn't take long for that spinach to become wilted. That's what you wanted to have. It like right now, if you wanted to have this in a salad or something like that, that's the perfect way to have it. But for the stuffing of the pork, I want it to be wilted. So we're going to wilt it in a second here. And while that's wilting, I'll be right back. A little bit of a roasted garlic. And we just introduce the spinach in there. Now turn the heat way down there. And just work it around. See how quickly it starts to wilt? Now you can judge the amount of spinach you're going to use by the size of your pork loin. I'm going to need a little bit more than that. I'm going to throw that in. And while that's cooking, I'm going to take some salt. I use sea salt. Let me just give it a little couple grinds around. And some pepper. Let me take some oregano. Like my measurements, and I crush it. When you crush the herbs, it releases the oils that are in the herbs. All you're doing is coating the pork with it, just like that. So there we go with the oregano. We got the basil. Same thing. Go to the other side. Just crush it around. Alright. And I'm going to take some thyme. And do the same thing. Just sprinkle it around. So now, that's all set. So let's see what our, the spinach looks great. This is what you want your spinach to look like. Okay. So we're going to take this guy and lay the spinach in. You don't have to be a perfectionist, just lay it in there. Alright. So take the frying pan, get that out of the way. Turn your heat off. And then just spread this all the way around. You want to get the garlic all the way through this. Just like that. Then we have goat cheese. And we're going to take some goat cheese and crumple it on. Just like that. And do a little more. Now from here we're going to take the side, pull it back, and then fold it right over on top, just like that. Alright. I'm going to take a little more pepper. Just a skosh of oregano. Tad of thyme. And some basil. So, right now we have the oven set at 350. And you'll want to cook this at 350 for approximately 8 to 10 minutes per pound. So I have approximately 4 pounds of pork loin. So
now,
roughly
talk
40,
about that string and where you get that
40,
string.
40 to 45 minutes. This is a cooking twine. A lot of the butcher shops use it for tying up roasts and everything else.
Where do you get it?
You can get it at almost any store. in their cooking areas. You can also get it at a hardware store. Actually, they have it in hardware stores. Walmart has it.
And it's called cooking twine.
Yeah, cooking twine. So this is going to be difficult because I'm left-handed, but if you take it and cross over once, twice, and then cinch it. By going twice, maybe even 3 times, it kind of keeps it set where it wants to stay. Now I take it, I palm it, and make an O. Walk it down.
So kind of like a slip knot.
It's kind of like a slip knot, yeah.
You're looping it. Okay.
Yep. And you just keep working it down. Now you get to see how the butchers do it. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is if you don't like garlic, and I was thinking about this because I have a friend of mine that he's allergic to garlic, and I've cooked for him before, and it's it's a very serious thing with people with food allergies like that. But instead of using garlic, you could actually cut up onion and use onion in place of the garlic. It's a different taste, but it's also good too. Alright, I think we're just about ready to say goodbye to this guy. Boom. So, there we have the finished pork loin ready to go into the oven. We're going to want to take that and put it into a shallow pan, probably maybe 2 to 3 inches deep. And like I said, we're going to put it in at 350 for about 8 to 10 minutes a pound. So we're looking at about 40 minutes for the roast to be done. After 40 minutes, you pull it out and you let it sit. And you're going to want to let it sit for about 10 minutes. That's going to, it's going to let the juices talk to the pork roast, and then all the herbs and everything else are going to make a nice juice, and it's going to make it nice and tender. Now, there's a lot of questions about what's the temperature that you cook pork loins to? Well, actually, I have some information that if anybody wants it, 145 to 160 for a pork loin. If you're using ground pork, they want you to do 160 and above. The 140, 145, it's going to be a little pink, but it's okay. The Institute back in the day, before the USDA had their standards, pork had trichinosis, and you had to cook it above 165 degrees to get rid of the trichinosis. Trichinosis is no longer. All our pork and meats and everything go through the USDA, and they're all certified. So they're saying that 145 to 160 for a pork loin, or pork roast, pork chops, stuffed, unstuffed. But then if you go into the ground burger and stuff like that, that's when you want to go to like 160. All right. So the oven has been preset for 350 degrees. And like I said previously, the USDA says that the internal temperature for a medium rare pork roast would be around 145. So, and it goes in for about 8 to 10 minutes per pound. This is a 4-pound stuffed roast. So it's going to take approximately 40 to 45 minutes. I have a meat thermometer that we will be using. About 3/4 of the way through, I'm going to test it to see where it's at. I will bring it out, and then it has to sit and rest for about, between 5 and 10 minutes. So now, when it's sitting there resting, it's internally cooking still. It's like when you get a sunburn, you get out of the sun, you're still cooking. So that's just kind of an analogy of what we're doing. So At 145 when we put it out, about 8 minutes later, it's probably going to be about 150, 155. And that'll bring it up to about medium. So with that being said, we're going to take our little guy and make him happy. And into the oven he goes. Now that's about a 2-inch, 2.5-inch to 3-inch pot, or I'm sorry, pan. I have a small rack in the bottom of that thing. You want to make sure that you have it fat side up so that when it starts cooking, all the fat and juices and the spices that we put on top of the roast are going to go around the outside of this, outside the cut of the meat. So, with that being said, we'll see you in about 45 minutes. Okay, now that the roast is in the oven, we're going to start making our tabbouleh salad. The only labor-intensive thing that I have found with a tabbouleh salad is when you go to the market to get your kale, it comes in this kind of a form here. It's really leafy, but it's also very stocky. And if you buy the ones that are in the plastic buckets, all you get from them is this kale all chopped up, but this hard stem is still in with the kale. So what I do is I just take it and I strip it. I'll strip it back from the stalk, so you're not chewing on all this stalk. And it just takes a few minutes just to peel it back. Make sure that you wash your vegetables when you bring them back from the market, because you don't know who has been handling your kale or your lettuce or your beans or whatever you have. And now that we have COVID-19 kicking around, you want to be very, very careful of how you handle the vegetables that you get from the market. That goes for your fruits also. Just run them under water, get them clean, because with the COVID out there, you don't know what's going on. All right, so back to this guy here. So now we have a whole bunch of kale, which is going to break down very quickly, because I'm going to take it and take my trusty chef knife. I'll ball up the kale. I'm not going to mince it. I'm just going to go through and just chop it up a little bit, so it makes it easier when somebody's eating it. All right, so there we have one bunch goes in. We take our next bunch. So this is the basics of your tabbouleh salad, is the kale. So what I'm doing here is I'm making a salad for like 2 people. All right. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to turn my burner onto high. I'm going to introduce 3/4 of a cup of water to 1/2 cup of quinoa. We added 3/4 of a cup of water, because it's half of the package, and 1/2 cup of the quinoa. So we just put this in the frying pan, and we wait about 20 minutes for it to evaporate all the water from the pan, and you kind of brown it up. You can see that it's starting to brown up a little bit here. So I'm just going to spread this around, and we'll be talking to it as we go along. So with that being said, we're going to move to our next thing, which is going to be our cucumber. Now this is an English cucumber. They're seedless, and they're supposed to be what they call burpless, so that you don't get the acid from them. But years ago, my mother showed me a trick that she did. When they cut the ends off of a cucumber, they would take and rub the end of the cucumber. And you see that stuff that's coming out? it's sucking the bitterness out of the cucumber. The acid, I should say, out of the cucumber. So you do that, and then we'll take I'll just take my clean cloth and wipe the end of it off. So now we're going to take this guy and we're going to do the same thing with your fingers. We're just going to make nice little slices of cucumber. Now this is for two. That's probably enough for two people. I'm going to turn it that way and just cut them in half. And those are going to be introduced into the salad. So you take that, and if you want to make them look pretty, just take a couple slices, turn it, and you're done. So makes them look pretty when you cut them up. Or you can peel the whole thing, or if you peel the whole thing and then you take a fork and go and make marks. It's all on how you want to present the cucumber when you're done. Okay, so that's it for this with the cucumber. So I'm going to put this off to the side. An important thing is when you're cutting vegetables, you want to make sure that you cut vegetables and fruits on the same board. I don't want to take like the roast that we just did. I want to have a clean board to start with, and I usually use my my marble top to do my pork because of cross-contamination and all that. So, with that being said, we're going to go over here and we're going to get item number 2, our fresh grown in the garden radishes. I'm lying. These are buy them in the bag at the grocery store. Good old radishes. So, well, you can see I can't really do this on here. I've got my fingertips on there, but I'm still using my knuckle as a guide when I'm slicing these down. All right, so there we have those. I think we'll do one more. So then you can slice them as thin as you want or as thick as you want. And here we go again. We'll just take and do a little slice and dice. And those get added into the salad. All right. So we'll take that guy and put him over here. I want to do a little stir on the quinoa. Oh yeah, it's drying out, which is kind of what you want to do. All right. Next, I'm going to take my grape tomatoes, which have been washed. And then I'm going to slice them in half. So there we go. We take the tomatoes, introduce them. Now you could take some. It's not actually in the recipe, but you could take green onion if you have it. Here we are in COVID country again. If you have this stuff in your house, I mean, you can use green onion. You could use a regular, any type of onion you want, and you can slice and dice it up and throw it in there also. If you have mushrooms, you could do that. The same thing. You'll just slice up some mushrooms and you can throw those in there also. It's all about what you have in your kitchen now. Some things I will go out and get. I mean, I don't think we all carry mint in our kitchens every day. But this recipe truly calls for fresh mint. So what I've done is I went out and got mint, But, and here's another thing, the smell-o-vision again. Here we go. If you could smell this fresh mint. All right, so we're going to take this in your hand. I don't cut it. I shred it with my hand. There's talk about that if you shred something as opposed to cutting it, when you're shredding it, you're releasing more of the juice that's in the mint itself. If you cut it, it kind of like it's a final thing. It doesn't. You're crushing it when you're ripping it apart in your hands. I'm going to take this. I'm going to toss it after I make the salad dressing for this. And the salad dressing is going to be some. It's about 1.5 lemons, freshly squeezed. Probably about 4 ounces worth of virgin olive oil and cumin. The cumin I would do to taste because it can get very overpowering. But we like cumin, so guess what? We use probably about 2 to 3 tablespoons of cumin. All right, we're going to cut this bad boy in half, like that, and we're going to do the same thing with this. Well, now we're going to take and we're going to have fresh squeezed lemon juice. So what I like about this is it takes the pulp and it takes the seeds that are in the lemon and they go bye-bye. And we take this guy and I can show you it's captured all the seeds. And there's a lot of the pulp of the lemon that's in there also. So with that, you just take that like that. And we move that over there. And we take this, and I'm going to add it to the water one. Here we go. This is all the lemon juice. And you'll see what 2 lemons gives you. So what do we got there? About 2/3 of a cup of lemon juice. In a lot of recipes, oil means oil in last. When you're making a recipe, most of the, I would say 95% of the time, oil is the last thing that you introduce into your recipe. So I'm going to take my cumin, and we're just going to drop that in there like so. Yeah, that's about 2 tablespoons of cumin. Take a whisk. Whisk it around. Now we're going to introduce the oil. There's a balance between the acidity of the lemon Alright, we're going to do this again. Oh yeah. Okay, so this has been sitting off to the side cooling. As you can see, it's browned up, kind of crispy. So you want to bring these kind of like to a room temperature. And we're just probably a little above room temperature because it hasn't really cooled off that bad. So we're just going to add this to the top. Now I'm going to take the dressing and just drizzle it over the top. Now this is where you want to start tossing this. Let me see if I can use these. You want to mix it through. You're basically just coating the kale and all your veggies that are in there.
Sometimes you do this with your hands, but you wear gloves.
Yeah, when you do, if you were to do this with your hands, I would advise you wearing, some gloves. Even though when we're in the kitchen, we are constantly washing our hands. We didn't. After we had done the pork, we've completely washed our hands and sanitized everything that we were using. So it's the main thing right now is they're just saying wash, wash, wash. Everything you do, as soon as you do something, wash. So now what I would do from here is I'd get some saran wrap and I would cover this. The pork is still in the oven. It's probably got, I don't know, maybe another half an hour or so to go before I first check the pork. So while this is sitting covered, I would put it in the refrigerator. So one of the things I like to say a lot is when I'm cooking is like, everybody gets inside this bowl and they start to talk to each other and they start releasing all their happiness into the bowl. So when it's time for this to be eaten, the cumin and the olive oil and the lemon would have talked to everybody in that whole bowl. So you could actually take it, and if you like, you could crumble goat cheese, blue cheese, Parmesan, feta cheese. If you want to just experiment with it. You're only handcuffed by your imagination.
We've put avocado in it sometimes.
You could put avocado in it, absolutely. Avocado goes really good with this.
Mushrooms.
Mushrooms, yeah. Like I said before, mushrooms. If you happen to have this stuff in your house, so use it, cook it, freeze it, and we'll see what happens when the pork comes out. Okay, folks, it's been just over an hour, about an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes, and we are up to temperature, 145, and we're just going to let it sit out here for about 8 to 10 minutes, and that's going to have it go up another maybe 10 degrees. So it'll probably be around 155, 160 by the time I start to carve it. So, oh boy, we're looking forward to this. So this was the 145 that sat for 8 minutes. And I'll tell you, it is so moist. Well, you can see the juices that are on the cutting board. Bon appetit. All right, so the roast has now come out of the oven. We added to this dish, we have a twice baked potato with Parmesan cheese on top. And then we're going to take our apple and the horseradish seasoning and drizzle it on there. And I tell you, if you had a phone that could smell, beep, baby. There we go. Bon appetit!